Ever get that feeling? You know, like when a company is just kind of held together by, I don't know, luck?
Hmm. Yeah.
Like one wrong step and the whole thing could just like unravel.
It absolutely, like a house of cards.
Exactly. So today we're diving into why that's, well, probably way more common than you might think,
Right.
and more importantly, how to avoid it.
Okay, I like where this is going.
We're talking SOPs. You know
SOP.
those documents everyone just thinks are like corporate red tape,
Yeah.
just, ugh, bureaucracy.
Yeah, kind of a necessary evil, or so people think.
Exactly. But our guide today, Curt Robbins, he's a technical writer who's basically built a career making these things, understandable.
Right.
And he makes this really interesting point. He says, they're not just about compliance. It's bigger than that. It's about actually unlocking a company's true potential.
And what's fascinating is that most people, they actually interact with SOPs every day without even realizing it.
Really?
Think about it, that coffee machine you rely on every morning.
Oh, for sure.
Chances are its maintenance, how it's cleaned, how it's operated, all that is governed by a really detailed SOP.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It ensures that every single barista, no matter who they are, can make it run smoothly.
Okay, so maybe not always about the most exciting stuff,
Right.
but Robbins' point is when we talk about a business capturing those processes, even the boring ones, it's critical.
Absolutely. Consistency is key.
He gives this example of a California credit union.
Okay.
They hired him to create, get this, over 120 SOPs.
Wow.
That's how much undocumented information was just floating around.
And that's precisely where the risk lies. Imagine that one person, the one who knows all the coffee machine magic, quits.
Oh, no.
Suddenly everyone's stuck with lukewarm coffee, and I'm pretty sure plummeting productivity.
Yeah, that's a rough day.
It seems like a small thing, right?
Yeah.
But scale that up to a company-wide level,
Oh, yeah.
and suddenly you've got chaos. That credit union, they realized that relying on individuals, it was just unsustainable.
Yeah.
They needed a system, a way to make their internal knowledge accessible to everyone.
So it's not just about documenting the tasks themselves, it's about capturing the why behind them, right? Like,
Okay.
why do we answer the phone this way? Why is this form filed on Tuesdays? Those kinds of things.
Precisely. It's that unspoken knowledge, that institutional memory that keeps a company running smoothly. And without SOPs, well, that knowledge just walks out the door every time an experienced employee leaves.
Which happens all the time, right?
Exactly.
And Robbins, he dives into the scope of this. He's clear that it's not always, simple stuff.
Right, it can get complex.
Some SOPs are just a few bullet points, but others,
Yeah.
they're practically novels. With flowcharts and subsections, it can get intense.
Exactly. Because it's not a one-size-fits-all kind of thing.
Of course not.
A simple process, maybe a simple task, might only need a single page to explain, but a complex one,
Yeah.
like onboarding new hires, especially at a large company, that could require a much, much deeper dive.
Okay, so we're starting to see how neglecting SOPs, it's not just annoying, it's risky. But where do the benefits really come into play? What's the upside for a business that actually gets this right?
Well, think about it this way. When you have that really clear understanding of how things should work,
Yeah.
that's when you can actually start to analyze and optimize.
Oh, I see.
Robbins calls it process analysis and improvement, and this is where SOPs, they become more than just those, dusty manuals on a shelf.
Yeah.
They become tools. Tools for efficiency and maybe even more importantly, innovation.
And Robbins argues that this whole SOP thing, it's not just for the operations folks, right?
Oh, absolutely not.
He says it impacts everyone.
Yeah.
He specifically talks about HR, recruiters, even the C-suite
Right.
benefiting from well-written SOPs.
Absolutely.
It's interesting. What's the connection there? I don't really see.
Well, it boils down to consistency
Okay.
and transparency.
Okay.
Like take HR, for example, right?
Yeah.
Imagine a new hire onboarding process where every single person has a completely different experience.
Okay.
Some, they feel totally welcomed and supported. They know exactly what's going on.
Yeah.
Others are left kind of feeling lost and confused.
Oh, just because of who happened to do their orientation that day.
Exactly. It's like a flip of a coin.
Yeah, that's rough.
And those inconsistencies, they might seem small, but they can actually lead to bigger problems
Oh, yeah.
down the line.
Totally.
But when you have that clear, well-documented SOP,
Yeah.
HR can guarantee that every new employee, every single one, gets the same information, the same
yeah.
training, and the same level of support.
It's just standardized. no
Exactly.
matter what.
Regardless of who's conducting that onboarding.
Interesting. Okay, so it's not just about making things like, more efficient. It's about actually creating a better, more equitable experience
Exactly. For everyone.
for everyone involved. Okay, that makes a lot of sense for HR.
Right.
But what about something like, the C-suite?
Hmm.
How do SOPs fit into their world?
So for leadership, it really comes back to that idea of process analysis and improvement
Okay.
that we were talking about.
Right.
Remember,
Yeah.
Robbins uses this example. He says, let's say a company, they identify a bottleneck in their production line
Okay.
because of their SOP.
Right.
They can actually see it let out. So instead of losing potentially thousands of dollars every single day, they can go in, make a few tweaks to the process, smooth out that bottleneck, and they might actually gain a competitive edge because of it.
So it's almost like having like a bird's eye view
Yes.
of your entire operation. You can suddenly see the inefficiencies
Exactly.
and the opportunities that you might have otherwise just totally missed
Precisely.
because you're just down in the weeds doing the day-to-day.
And those insights,
Yeah.
they can lead to major cost savings, faster turnaround times,
Wow.
and they can even spark innovation
How?
because you're identifying these areas where you can actually make things better.
Oh, interesting.
Right.
Yeah.
But, creating these, truly effective SOPs,
Yeah.
it's not always a walk in the park.
Right.
Robbins actually talks about this kind of like collaborative dance that has to happen
Okay.
between the technical writers,
Right.
the people who are actually writing these things down,
Mhm.
and the subject matter experts.
Right, because you got to talk to the people who actually know how to do the thing.
Exactly.
Right.
And that in itself can sometimes be a challenge because, let's face it, sometimes those experts,
Yeah,
they live and breathe their work so
you
deeply
do.
that they don't even realize what they know anymore.
It's so true. It's like second nature.
It's like trying to explain breathing
Right.
to someone who's been doing it their whole life.
Exactly. Yeah, you don't even think about it.
Right. You just do it.
Right.
And Robbins, he points out that because of that, a lot of really critical knowledge can be just locked away
It's true.
as this kind of undocumented expertise,
Yeah.
this information that really only exists in someone's head.
And if that person wins the lottery or gets hit by a bus, whatever, it's gone.
And it's useless to everyone else.
Right.
It's like having a treasure map, but no one can read the language it's written in.
Right. Exactly. It's like, what good is it?
Exactly. And that's where those skilled technical writers, they come in.
Okay.
They act like translators,
Okay.
taking this complex information, all that jargon,
Yeah?
from those subject matter experts,
Yeah.
and they turn it into something that's clear, concise, and easy for anyone to understand.
Got it. Got it. Which, I mean, Robbins would know this is like his whole thing.
Right.
He's built a career on this.
Exactly.
But he doesn't sugarcoat it.
No.
He makes it clear that creating a truly effective SOP, one that really captures all that like hidden expertise
Yeah.
and makes it accessible to everyone, it's hard.
It's a process. It's definitely a process.
It's not easy.
No.
And he says it's often even more important to have those really detailed SOPs for your internal processes.
Yes.
Even if they're not like, mandated by some law or regulation.
Absolutely.
No.
Because without that clarity, that foundation,
Yeah.
you risk inconsistency,
Right.
inefficiency,
Right.
and you even risk compliance issues down the line.
Oh, so it comes back to that. Okay.
It all comes back to that.
Interesting, yeah. So this is about protecting yourself.
Exactly. This leads to like a really crucial point that Robbins hammers home.
Okay.
The cost of neglecting SOPs.
Oh, and he doesn't hold back there, does he?
No, he doesn't mince words.
He calls companies without SOPs, and I quote, totes loco peeps.
Yeah, he's got away with words.
He does. But, I mean, beneath the humor, he's making a serious point here, right?
Oh, absolutely.
He's basically saying that neglecting SOPs, it's not just inefficient.
Yeah.
It's a massive risk
Huge.
for any company.
Yeah, any company.
Big or small. It's like, thinking you can build a skyscraper,
Yeah.
but on a foundation of playing cards. You know what I mean?
Right.
Eventually, the whole thing is just, it's all going to come crashing
You
down.
tumble.
Exactly.
Yeah, and it's not always about some like big catastrophic failure either.
Right.
Sometimes it's more like this slow creep,
Okay.
of inefficiency. Imagine a company where every single time someone new joins,
Yeah.
they have to reinvent the wheel
Ugh, I hate
on these
that.
really basic tasks.
Yeah.
Because that undocumented expertise.
Right.
It walked out the door with their predecessor.
It's like death by 1,000 paper cuts.
Exactly.
Only instead of paper cuts, it's lost time, missed deadlines.
Frustrated employees.
Yeah, exactly.
And, those what might seem like small inefficiencies at first,
Right.
they can really add up over time to some major financial losses.
For sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But even beyond just, the financial risks,
Okay.
there's also the issue of compliance.
Because if a company, if they can't demonstrate that they have those clear processes
Yeah.
documented in place.
Accountability, yeah.
Yeah, they could face, legal problems.
Precisely.
Wow.
And that's not even considering what could happen to their reputation.
All right. Yeah.
If something goes wrong and they're, caught with their pants down, basically,
Yikes.
no plan of action, they're scrambling, it's not a good look.
Not at all. Not at all.
So Robbins' point here, having that really robust system of SOPs, it's like building a safety net
Okay.
for your entire organization.
I like, yeah, that's a good way to put it, a safety net.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's like insurance almost.
In a way.
It might not be the most glamorous thing
Right.
to be spending money on.
Not the most exciting thing.
But when you need it, you're really glad you have it.
Exactly.
It's
Yeah.
there for you.
Yep.
You know what I find really interesting about this whole thing, though?
What's that?
Robbins, he doesn't just see SOPs as a way to, mitigate risk, right?
Okay.
He positions them as this, tool
Interesting.
for unlocking a company's true potential.
Okay. Yeah, I see that.
Which is kind of a cool way to think about these things that we think of as,
Yeah.
bureaucracy, red tape, boring.
Right.
But he's saying, no, this is actually how you, unleash, the best your company can be.
He's saying when you can remove the ambiguity,
Yeah.
the guesswork from those everyday operations,
Right.
it actually frees people up to think creatively,
Interesting.
to think about innovating, and to actually excel in their role.
Yeah, because they're not so bogged down in just
The weeds.
figuring out how to do the thing. They can actually think about, okay, how do we make the thing better?
Exactly. Or how do we, what's the next thing?
Yes.
Right.
You're not constantly putting out fires anymore.
Right.
You're actually thinking ahead.
So when you think about it that way, that's a pretty powerful argument
It is.
for investing in something as seemingly, boring as SOPs.
Right.
It's not just about, checking the box for compliance. It's
Yeah.
not even just about efficiency.
It's bigger.
It's like creating this whole culture.
a culture of excellence.
Yeah.
From the ground up.
I like that, from the ground up.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And Robbins, he concludes his article with this really interesting thought.
Okay.
He says that in, the world we live in today, things are changing so rapidly.
Constantly, yeah. Constantly. And he says that the companies that really embrace this, they embrace SOPs, not as this bureaucratic burden,
Right.
but as this strategic asset.
Interesting.
Those are the companies that are going to thrive.
It's like he's saying, everyone's obsessed with, the next big thing.
The quick fix, the hack,
Right, exactly.
the silver bullet.
But sometimes the answer is just get the basics right.
Master the fundamentals.
Yeah.
The building blocks of a truly successful organization.
It's like he's saying, those SOPs, those documents everyone loves to hate.
Right.
They might actually hold the key
They might.
to unlocking, everything you want.
Your true potential.
Yeah, exactly. That's a great way to put it.
Thanks.
So as we wrap up this deep dive,
Yes.
I want to leave you with this thought. Think about your own workplace, right?
What
Or maybe a company you really admire. What if they took this to heart?
if they did?
What if they really embraced, Robbins' ideas about SOPs?
Yeah.
Could that be the spark
It could be.
to their next big win?
Interesting.
Something to think about.
Food for thought.
Food for thought, right?
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us for another deep dive. We'll be back next time with another fascinating topic. Until then, keep those brains curious.
Absolutely.
And remember, sometimes those most powerful tools are the ones that we overlook.
The ones we take for granted.